Welcome to our very first podcast, Straight Talk with the County Executive, available on Spotify, where we talk all things Cecil. I'm Cecil County Executive Adam Streight, and our guest today is Deputy Finance Director Andrew Ondish, who's here to talk about the FY27 budget currently before County Council. Welcome, Andrew. Thanks so much for being here.
County Executive Streight, thank you for having me.
Andrew, call me Adam, and let's just dive right in. All right. So when I was elected in 2024, I brought a strategic plan to Cecil County government that incorporated the principles of safe and secure communities, quality of life, strong community connections, financial stability, and sustainable growth. And we have since incorporated that in all facets of Cecil County government, including our budget. So what I would like for you to do is just kind of walk me through the budget process, the history of what happened before, how we used OpenGov to make it more transparent and accessible to the public, and where we are today.
Excellent. So as you know, in 2024, I changed roles. I was in a role working as a consultant for various counties, doing budget work around the state of Maryland. I came in to this new position in December of 2024, like many of your team did, and was quickly underway with budget preparations already. We used softwares that have been in existence since 1995. The updates on them weren't, to the level that was as sophisticated as other things that I had seen out there. I had questioned a lot of that. Frankly, the timing of that, we had to use what we had to use, all while knowing there had to be a better way. And I think that there was a better way because certain things we would see in the budget were hard to follow, to understand, to trace, to track, all things in finance we like to do and make sure that we have a clear understanding of that. So the budget formation in Cecil County is released on April 1st. We're one of the first counties in the state of Maryland to release our budget.
And that's per our county charter.
That is per our county charter currently. That's correct. So when we got into office with you and your administration, we hit the ground running with directors. We started meetings with directors. So really between December and March, you have to have all the legwork done, because once you get to a certain point, there has to be review. There has to be, various user end meetings that make sure that we have everything incorporated. And truthfully, the balancing of the budget. That's one of the most important steps that we have to do.
It's probably the most important step.
It is, and can be the most challenging and time consuming.
Sure.
It's one thing to get the request. It's one thing to see what everybody needs year over year. It's some of the things that were lacking. First year, big concern that we had was, in our IT department, there was something called an internal service fund that was being used. I would argue even, in conversations with the director early on, it wasn't being kept up with. I think in principle, the idea was to spread those costs amongst all departments. But in all reality, the IT department runs IT and all IT for the county. And why wouldn't we have it in one place? I think that goes towards that transparency model that we've been pushing.
Just like when what we saw with the legal department.
Exactly.
Where we had paralegals and other legal funding that was hidden in other departments. Correct. And it appeared, at least on paper, that the Office of the County Attorney was funded a lot less than what it actually was.
Sure. You could have 5 to 8 people in a department, but I could spread one of those people out in 8 different departments, and then it makes your department look smaller. And at the end of the day, they were grouped together. They were sitting together. They were doing the same work, having staff meetings. To me, when I came to you and had this conversation, I said, why don't we put the staff back where we are? There was a big ask from council year one, which was a very valid request. And we met that request, which was, can we get a list of positions? We put that in the back of the budget book. But it started to lead to further questions. Is this the way we should be doing it? And that led us to OpenGov. OpenGov is a product that was being used in our permitting department. It was being used somewhat in our procurement process. And it was a interactive tool that would solve 2 major problems for the county. We'll get into one of those issues on this episode. But those 2 issues were budgeting in a way that made sense, in a way that was easy to follow from any user, the public, anybody that might not have a background in finance. You could still follow along with the budget because it was a more user-friendly interface. It's like layering on a software to show where the all of the transactions kind of come together in one spot. But remember, we were talking about the balancing part of this. We actually could keep track as we went, where we were, how out of balance.
So it made it easier on you guys in creating the budget, on all of us, and it also was more efficient because it cut down on mistakes.
All of those mistakes could be caught by multiple users. It could have been in the department area. It could be when we were reviewing it in finance. It could be all the way at the budget manager level. All of that. All of the components of OpenGov allowed for us to have a smoother budget process. That budget process, remember that first year that we had, started somewhere around October, which is very early on in the new fiscal year. You don't have a lot of data. When we had the data at our fingertips, when we were able to roll in live data that was showing at the same time you were entering in your budget information and being reviewed by the director of finance and the director of administration.
And it was a little more difficult for us too, because like you said, the budget process normally starts in October.
Exactly.
We didn't take office until December.
Correct.
And just with the transition, trying to put everything in place and get that first budget. And you talked earlier before about balancing. There were a lot of needs. A lot of things were neglected, whether it was public safety. I mean, we both recall under the previous administration, the Cecil County Detention Center was at 50% staff at some point. Of course, now, and we'll get into this, by funding our priorities, they now have one vacancy, which they're getting ready to fill. So with OpenGov, even though we had funded our different priorities, the public was actually able to see where that money was going to the nickel. And it really made the budgeting process not only more transparent, but more efficient, so that less mistakes were being made.
Yeah. So what really was able to happen was that we were able to get access to be able to put the whole budget online in a format that's essentially you can click through and see the different departments, see the different line items that you'd like to see. In the past, it's been one long list that can go for 200, 300 pages. When you're able to separate out, I want to look at the IT department. I want to look at the legal department. I want to look at the public library. I want to look at the sheriff's office. You can see the breakdown of each one of those right on our website. It's a link that you can click on and you can go through and you can actually go to
CecilCountyMD.gov.
It's out on our county website right now. There's a big blue button that's there. It's got all of our budget documents right there. We encourage the public to go out. If you notice, every Tuesday night when we're downstairs with council, we're using that webpage. We're using the same webpage that's available to the public that was available on the day we dropped the budget on April 1st, which is exciting.
That's just huge.
It is.
That's huge. And it's our goal to bring confidence to our citizens that we are spending your money wisely, and this is what we're spending it on. And we talked about also with a lot of people don't know what the CIP is.
Yes, correct.
So kind of get in that.
So CIP rolls in. There's a 5-year plan. It's a capital improvement plan.
Now just real quick, a lot of people don't understand that we have two parts of the budget. We have the operating budget, which funds departments, services, things like that.
Correct.
And then we also have what's called the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program, which, as you said, is a 5-year plan. They are separate, but they get voted on and presented to county council together.
Each year is what I would say. Each year they're voted on. There's a 5-year plan. Think of it as a construction plan. These are to fix roadways, bridges, building construction that we have going on around the county. ARPA was a massive part in this whole thing. That's something that when we came into office, that was kind of a mess. We had to figure out, the federal government had very strict guidelines on how money was spent and in ways you had to spend it. That all has to be a part of your plan. When that's a part of your plan, that's what you're able to essentially go through those 5 years. There can be changes made, but every year we're voting on the year in which we're looking at. Some of that stuff was kind of rolled over. The CIP rolls over. You cannot always finish a project when you think you're going to be able to finish it. So the easiest way to explain CIP is, it's one thing is we're going to be getting it more online accessible to our public, hopefully on a quarterly basis moving forward with OpenGov. Another way we can do that, that's actually had a call about that this morning. Very excited to bring that kind of change that we can do to the budgeting process and ongoing budgeting process. But I think that's a way for the citizens to understand the projects going out there, how they're funded, when there's to be completed, is it going to affect their neighborhood? And I think we do a great job around the county putting out that information. But to be able to see it all the time is very valuable as well.
And that's part of the point of this podcast is to bring this information to the public that normally they wouldn't actually see. So thank you, Andrew. That's all the time that we have today. Be sure to join us next week for part 2 of our conversation with Andrew, where we'll talk about the tax rate reductions, property assessments, and how they affect our community. I'm Adam Streight, host of Straight Talk with the County Executive, available on Spotify and Cecil County Government social media and YouTube. Thanks for joining us.